The story begins with an innocent girl named Matsuri, who had been lonely since childhood. In the rooms of her house, silence echoed louder than her own voice. Her greatest source of comfort was a TV show. Every day, she would turn on the television and watch only one program, Trey-san. Trey-san was a famous group of 3 boys. As time passed, Matsuri grew up. But one thing never changed, her love for Trey-san. Just seeing them would bring a smile to Matsuri's face. She had grown so attached to them that she would talk to them in her imagination, as if they were a real part of her world. Then one day, as she was returning home from school, she received a call from her mother. "Matsuri dear, I have found a new dad for you. And he has 3 sons." Hearing this, Matsuri's heart began to race. For a girl who had been alone her entire life, this felt like a dream. She would finally have brothers. She would no longer be lonely. Her mother asked her to come home quickly. But when Matsuri reached home and the door opened, her breath stopped. Standing right in front of her were the same faces she saw every day on TV. Trey-san. She soon realized that from now on, those 3 boys were going to be her brothers. For a moment, she felt as if she were dreaming. She looked again and again at the posters on the wall, then at the 3 boys, and then back at the posters. The eldest brother was Miho, after him was Tion, and the youngest was Rihito. Matsuri had already taken admission to their school. The next day she got ready for school. But when she saw the 3 brothers arguing with each other, her face turned pale instantly. She was deeply afraid of fights. Just then, their manager approached Matsuri and said, "No one outside should find out that you are their sister." Lowering her head slightly, Matsuri replied, "I will try my best." And from that moment a new life began, a new relationship, and a story that Matsuri had never even imagined. When she returned home from school, she saw the same scene again. Miho, Tion and Rihito fighting. Without saying a word, she quietly went to her room. Once inside, she picked up a magazine. It stated that the 3 members of Trey-san loved each other very much. Matsuri already knew the truth. She understood how deep the bond between the 3 brothers truly was. Just then, Miho walked into the room. Seeing the magazine in her hands, he became emotional for a few moments. Watching his expression, Matsuri made a quiet decision. She would bring the 3 of them close again, no matter what. The next morning, she handed each of them a birthday card. Then, secretly, she began looking for the things they liked, trying to learn their preferences so she could prepare everything perfectly. By the time she finished, it was already late at night. Exhausted, Matsuri fell asleep at the table. Miho saw her there. Gently, he took off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. At that very moment, Matsuri opened her eyes. She felt slightly embarrassed, thinking that Miho had seen all her plans. Miho reassured her softly. "Don't worry. I won't tell anyone." Then he quietly left the room. The next night, Matsuri had completed all the birthday preparations. But suddenly, an argument broke out between the 2 younger brothers over the cake. "Why did you bring strawberry flavor? I don't even like this cake," Rihito complained. The 2 brothers began shouting at each other loudly. Miho kept trying to stop them, but the fight only grew worse. And Matsuri? She stood at a distance, silently watching everything, as if she were trying to save her family from breaking apart again. Seeing all of this, Matsuri became extremely upset. The hard work she had put in all night suddenly felt meaningless. In anger, she grabbed a pastry and threw it toward them. But instead, it hit Miho directly. Overwhelmed by her emotions and unable to control her anger, Matsuri fainted. For a moment, all 3 brothers panicked. Quickly, they carried her to the bed and laid her down carefully. When Matsuri regained consciousness, the 3 brothers apologized to her sincerely. They promised that they would never fight again and that they would do whatever she asked of them. Matsuri asked them to smile, just like she always did. A faint smile appeared on her face. Then she apologized to Miho for throwing the pastry at him. Miho gently held her hand and softly kissed it. "I forgave you a long time ago," he said. Later, when the other 2 brothers stepped outside, Miho tried to confess what was in his heart to Matsuri. But at that exact moment, the youngest brother entered the room and ruined the plan. "Tonight, the 3 of us are sleeping together in this room," he announced. That night, everyone lay down to sleep. But Matsuri couldn't fall asleep. She quietly got up and walked toward Miho. He was still awake. Matsuri looked at him and asked softly, "Were you trying to tell me something?" Miho gently pulled the blanket over Matsuri's eyes. Then, placing his hand softly near her lips, he gave her a sweet, gentle kiss. In the next scene, the Trey-san group began preparing seriously for their upcoming competition. Matsuri stood at a distance, quietly watching them practice. A few days later, the day of the performance finally arrived. Matsuri brought food for them. On her way, she accidentally bumped into a handsome boy. She quickly said, "Sorry," and walked away, but her ID card fell to the ground without her noticing. The boy picked it up with a faint smile. Matsuri entered Trezen's room with the food, but when she didn't see Miho there, she asked about him. They told her that before every performance, Miho liked to spend some time alone. She went looking for him and eventually found him. She handed him his favorite food. Tension was clearly visible on Miho's face. Trying to encourage him, Matsuri said, "You've worked very hard. The result will definitely be good." Miho wasn't actually worried about the performance. Gathering his courage, he looked at her and asked, "What if, instead of loving you as a sister, I want you to feel like my girlfriend?" Matsuri blushed. Without giving any answer, she simply said, "All the best," and walked away. During the performance, the entire audience cheered and clapped loudly, motivating them. Their performance impressed everyone. But Matsuri's mind was still occupied with Miho's words. Suddenly, the lights went out. Feeling the weight of their hard work, Matsuri quickly took out her phone and turned on its flashlight, signaling them to continue dancing. Slowly, one by one, the audience members turned on their phone lights as well. Seeing this beautiful sight, tears filled the brothers' eyes. The atmosphere became deeply emotional and romantic. After the show ended, Miho thanked Matsuri for helping them. Then, he confessed his feelings and proposed to her, expressing everything that was in his heart. The next day, when Matsuri returned home from school, she saw Rihito standing in front of her. She was surprised and asked how he knew she was there. Rihito smiled slightly and said, "I always have your phone's location." As they were talking, the same boy Matsuri had bumped into earlier walked past them. He was a friend of the Treysun group. He greeted Rihito, and then his eyes fell on Matsuri. Recognizing him, Matsuri softly called out, "Jisoo, my childhood friend." At that moment, a flashback appeared. As children, Matsuri and Jisoo had been very close friends. Matsuri had always considered him like a brother. Jisoo warmly hugged her and gently touched her cheek. "You've become even more beautiful than before," he said softly. Rihito immediately stepped forward and said firmly, "She is our sister now, so keep your distance." Jisoo politely asked for permission to speak with Matsuri alone for a few minutes. The two of them began recalling their childhood memories, smiling as they remembered the old days. After a while, the other two members of Treysun also arrived, and Matsuri left with them. But something stayed in Jisoo's mind. He quietly decided that he would protect Matsuri like a hero. When his eyes fell on Miho's hand, which was gently holding Matsuri's, he understood exactly what was going on in Miho's heart. Without hesitation, Jisoo walked up to Matsuri and softly kissed her on the cheek. Matsuri blushed and quickly walked away. Miho could only stare at Jisoo angrily. The next day at school, some girls asked Matsuri questions about the Treysun group. But Matsuri's thoughts were still stuck on what had happened the day before. When school ended and she started heading home, she suddenly saw Jisoo standing nearby. She tried to change her route, but Jisoo stopped her and handed back her ID card. "I'll drop you home today," he said. Out of helplessness, Matsuri agreed. Taking advantage of the moment, Miho proposed to her inside the car. But Matsuri remained silent. She didn't want to break anyone's heart. The next day, Matsuri went on the first date of her life with Miho. They spent time walking around together and later went to a hotel restaurant for dinner. At that moment, a waiter approached them and said, "Sir, our actor didn't show up today. Would you be willing to play the role of a prince?" Miho smiled slightly and replied, "The princess will be none other than my girlfriend." Hearing this, Matsuri agreed to join the roleplay. Suddenly, the atmosphere turned deeply romantic, and Matsuri, overwhelmed by her emotions, leaned forward and kissed Miho. The next morning, when Matsuri woke up, she kept thinking about what she had done the night before. She started trying to avoid Miho. As soon as she saw him at school, she hid her face. Miho quickly realized that something was wrong. He left a card on her desk that read, "Meet me in the restroom." Pretending not to notice anything unusual, he waited. Matsuri eventually came. Gently, she reached out and touched Miho's face. Miho immediately held her hand and asked, "Why have you been trying to avoid me since this morning?" Matsuri confessed her feelings honestly. Miho tried to reassure her. "There is no force in a relationship. We should give each other time." Hearing this, Matsuri hugged him and apologized. Later, the three brothers got into the car and left together. As Matsuri was walking back toward her classroom, a boy suddenly stepped in front of her, blocking her way. His name was Ji-hoon. He showed Matsuri a picture and said, "If you don't become my girlfriend, I'll make this picture public." Panicking, Matsuri tried to stop him and asked, "Why are you doing this?" Ji-hoon replied, "I've heard a lot about you. They say many guys are crazy about you. Even Miho and Jisoo." Then he showed her another picture and added, "I'm a member of the Prism group, the same group your friend Jisoo is in." He set a condition. Matsuri would have to pretend to be his girlfriend for a few days. Left with no choice, she agreed. Whenever girls asked Ji-hoon about her, he would confidently say, "She's my girlfriend." Hearing this, Matsuri felt extremely embarrassed and immediately went up to the rooftop. Ji-hoon followed her there. He looked at her and asked, "Do you love Miho?" With a soft smile, Matsuri nodded and said yes. Ji-hoon was unexpectedly moved by her innocent honesty. Without saying anything further, he deleted all her pictures. He then told her that the Prism group needed a girl to play the role of a princess in their performances. If she wanted, he could recommend her name. Matsuri took some time to think and later discussed it with Miho. Miho praised her and, pulling her into a hug, said, "You should definitely do it. You're talented." Just then, the other brothers walked in. They had already overheard everything. They encouraged her as well. The next day, Matsuri went to perform as the princess. During the act, 4 boys proposed to her as part of the stage performance. Her acting impressed everyone. That evening, she excitedly told Miho, "Everyone loved my acting today. I'm so happy." A few days later, Trezen's manager called the 3 brothers and showed them the news. The Prism Group's performance had become extremely successful. In fact, they were now outperforming Trey-sun. Tension filled the room as the manager said, "Tomorrow in the music competition, we have to surpass Prism. Otherwise, people will start forgetting us." The next day, Prism performed first. After them, Trey-sun, led by Miho, took the stage and delivered their performance. The following day, Matsuri brought food to the club for the brothers. But the manager stopped her. "You can't go to them today. They're practicing." Understanding the situation, Matsuri handed the food to the manager and quietly left. On her way back, she saw Jisoo. He gently touched her cheek, but his hand felt unusually warm. Matsuri immediately realized he had a fever. Without hesitation, she took Jisoo to her home and took care of him. She gave him medicine on time and looked after him attentively. The next morning, as Matsuri was setting the table for breakfast, her phone rang. It was Miho. "Our training is complete," he said. "We'll be home in an hour." Hearing this, Matsuri felt overwhelming happiness. But she controlled herself and simply replied, "Okay," before ending the call. Jisoo began to feel much better and soon left. After a while, the 3 brothers returned home as well. Tion cheerfully announced, "We're all going on a hot spring trip. Get ready quickly." During the trip, Matsuri felt quite bored because there were no other girls there for her to talk to. A mischievous boy approached her and said, "Why are you sitting here alone? Go and enjoy the hot spring." Matsuri liked the suggestion. She quickly changed her clothes and headed toward the hot spring. However, once she went inside, she realized it was currently the men's time. Miho immediately told her to go back. Just as she was about to leave, they suddenly heard someone entering. Miho quickly told Matsuri to hide. A moment later, Jisoo walked in and started talking to Miho. In a quiet voice, Jisoo said, "Maybe I've lost. Matsuri doesn't have any feelings for me." Hearing this, Matsuri's heart ached. After Jisoo left, Miho and Matsuri spoke privately. Matsuri looked at him and said softly, "For me, you're my only hero. I don't need anyone else." The picnic ended shortly after, and everyone returned home. Back at school, sports competitions were taking place. Matsuri wanted to participate in the basketball competition because the first prize was 1 lakh. However, she wasn't very good at sports. Some of the girls in her class made fun of her. One girl even tried to throw a basketball at her, but Rihito stepped in and protected her. Rihito said, "If you really want to win the basketball competition, I can train you." Matsuri refused. Understanding her hesitation, Rihito added, "You can practice on your own. That way, Miho won't get upset." Matsuri liked that idea. She went to Miho and told him, "I'll start coming home late from tomorrow. I have basketball practice." Miho assumed that Rihito would be training her, which made him slightly annoyed. But Matsuri quickly clarified, "I'll practice on my own. I don't need anyone." Hearing that, Miho's expression softened. He took off his bracelet and gave it to her. Matsuri liked the bracelet very much. From that day on, she practiced day and night while also managing household responsibilities. Whenever she had a plan, she would write it down on a board before leaving. One day, after practice, she went to return the basketballs to the storage room. Suddenly, someone locked the door from the outside. It was one of her fellow students playing a cruel prank. Matsuri began banging on the door loudly. Nearby, Rihito had been sleeping. Hearing the noise, he suddenly woke up. Matsuri asked him for help and requested his phone. She took out her own phone, but the battery was low. All her attempts failed. She started knocking on the door again. Rihito asked, "What's the problem that you're knocking so loudly?" But before Matsuri could answer, both of them slipped and fell on the floor, and unintentionally, their lips briefly touched. On the other side, the 3 brothers were extremely worried because there was no news about Matsuri. Matsuri and Rihito sat and talked for a while. Rihito used a rope to divide the room into 2 parts. Suddenly, thunder roared and heavy rain began outside. Rihito felt scared and went closer to Matsuri, holding her tightly. The 3 brothers felt embarrassed because they still couldn't find Matsuri. Rihito apologized to Matsuri and returned to his side of the room. Lightning thundered again. Seeing Rihito's condition, Matsuri could not stay silent. She sat beside him to give him courage. "Why did you put the rope?" "I didn't ask you to," Matsuri asked. "I thought you might feel uncomfortable with me. That's why," Rihito replied. Matsuri laughed and said, "I don't think bad about anyone." Due to the cold weather, Matsuri suddenly sneezed. Rihito gently placed his jacket over her shoulders. That moment someone started shouting outside. Matsuri shouted loudly, and hearing her voice, the three brothers immediately opened the door. They were shocked to see Rihito trapped inside the room with Matsuri. The next day was the competition. Matsuri's team won the first round. Meanwhile, Miho and Rihito argued with each other. Rihito had also started developing feelings for Matsuri, but Miho warned him to stay away from her. Rihito said, "Just like the Trey-sun group is slowly winning the audience's hearts, your love will also slowly disappear from Matsuri's heart." The competition continued, and finally Matsuri's team won. Matsuri also received the Best Performance Award. But when she was called to the stage, she shared her prize with everyone. The three brothers happily performed a dance together, which delighted the audience. After the performance, Matsuri thanked everyone. However, Miho spoke to her in a somewhat cold tone, as if his heart was broken. He talked about breaking up, saying, "From now on, our relationship should only be like that of a brother and sister." Matsuri was shocked to hear this. But no one knew that Miho was doing this to protect his love. He then focused on helping the Trey-sun group regain the #1 position. The next day, while Matsuri was preparing food for them, their coach arrived and said, "We have to go for camp training, you will come with us." Everyone went to the camp. There they saw the Prism group, and learned that Prism would also train alongside them. That night snow was falling. Matsuri was enjoying the snow when Jisoo came to her. They remembered their childhood memories. Due to the cold, Jisoo placed a scarf on Matsuri, which reminded her of her childhood days. Jisoo asked Matsuri, "Do you like Miho?" Matsuri shook her head and said no. Jisoo said, "I know you are lying, he is in your heart." After saying this, Jisoo left. Suddenly, Matsuri looked at her hand and realized that Miho's bracelet was missing. Panicking, she started searching for the bracelet. At night, the three brothers were also looking for Matsuri, but they couldn't find her anywhere. Finally, Miho found Matsuri and said, "Have you gone crazy? What are you searching for in this freezing cold?" Matsuri replied, "The bracelet you gave me." Miho said, "We will search for it in the morning." But Matsuri refused, saying that if snow fell during the night, it would become even harder to find the bracelet. Hearing this, Miho became emotional. He hugged Matsuri and apologized for his earlier cold behavior. Due to the extreme cold, Matsuri fainted. Miho carried her in his arms and laid her on the bed, taking care of her throughout the night. The next morning, both groups had breakfast together. Now, Miho and Matsuri had reconciled. But suddenly, the media surrounded them. They started asking questions about Matsuri and Jisoo's relationship because a picture of them had been made public. The media misinterpreted the situation, claiming that Matsuri would join the Prism group and leave the Trey-sun group. The Trey-sun group manager advised Matsuri to stay at home for a few days until the false rumors died down. While using the computer, Matsuri read negative comments about Jisoo and silently cried inside her heart. Outside, heavy rain was falling, as if her pain was scattering into the weather. Matsuri was about to go to the media, but Jisoo saw her. He asked, "What are you going to do in such heavy rain?" Matsuri replied, "I'm going to the media to clear the false accusations against you." Jisoo stopped her and said there was no need for it. But Matsuri didn't agree. Jisoo gently kissed her on the forehead and said, "Now this is my responsibility. Go and rest." Matsuri quietly returned home. The next day, when Matsuri was at school, a Prism group boy came to her and said, "Come with me quickly. Rihito hasn't come to training for several days. Maybe you can talk to him." Matsuri quietly went with him. She asked, "Why have we come here?" The boy replied, "Rihito usually comes here. Just wait a little." Then he left by making an excuse. After a while, two bad boys appeared and started harassing Matsuri, forcing her to drink. At that moment, Rihito arrived and took Matsuri away with him. In the next scene, Matsuri asked him, "Why aren't you practicing? Don't you want to win the competition?" Rihito angrily said, "Since I saw you, I have lost the desire to do anything. Maybe I have fallen in love with you." Before their conversation could continue, the bad boys returned and started recording a video. They threatened, "If you do anything, we will make this video public, which will bring shame to the Prism group." To protect the Prism group, Matsuri poured the drink on herself, making it appear as if the bad boys had forced her to drink and record the video. She warned them, "If you do something like this again, I will report you to the police." The bad boy angrily pushed Matsuri. She stumbled toward the wall and almost fell, but Miho caught her in time. Miho injured his leg while saving her, so he was taken to the hospital. Miho told his coach, "I will definitely recover before the competition. It's just a minor injury." But their manager shocked everyone by saying, "This time, the Trey-sun group will not participate in the competition. Only the Prism group will compete and win the first prize." After saying this, he left. Matsuri was about to leave as well, but Miho stopped her. Matsuri said, "It's not good for me to stay here. I am becoming a problem for you all. Because of me, the Trey-sun group is out of the competition." Miho replied, "I am not perfect. Every person makes mistakes." Holding her hand, he said, "Don't worry. I will definitely win the competition. The manager is just trying to scare us. He won't remove us from the competition. Matsuri also encouraged Miho, saying, now I am only with you. On the other side, both groups tried to convince the manager and producer not to remove Trey-sun from the competition. The Prism group members also requested the producer to give Trey-sun one last chance. If Trey-sun performed well, Prism could still aim to win. The producer softened a little and gave Trey-sun group one last opportunity. Both groups started practicing with full dedication. Matsuri kept recording their videos. Even Miho, sitting in the hospital, watched those videos and practiced according to his physical ability. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. The entire audience was waiting for this moment. First, the Prism group performed and delivered a spectacular performance. After the performance, the three brothers called Matsuri and formed a circle around her. Miho said, all this happened because of Matsuri. Because of her, friendship grew between us. They asked Matsuri to watch the performance from behind the stage so that they could gather courage from her presence. Then the Trey-sun group went on stage for their performance. They were performing very well, but suddenly Miho fell because of his injury. Seeing this, the other two brothers immediately followed the same formation and completed their performance in a fashion-style group formation. Their smart recovery and teamwork impressed the audience a lot. Trey-sun group successfully covered their mistake and won everyone's hearts. After the performance, the name of the Trey-sun group became popular once again. Miho took Matsuri to a quiet place and expressed what was in his heart. He proposed to Matsuri. Matsuri was about to say something when her two brothers jokingly called her and said, stay away from our sister. After that, Matsuri accepted Miho's proposal. They shared a small, loving, gentle kiss. And with this happy ending, our story comes to an end. If you like the story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for giving your valuable time.